Welcome into NHL Tonight, first shift for a Monday, June the 9th, 2025. Ah, yes, the lovely beaches of South Florida. Looks great. There's the beautiful city of Fort Lauderdale. You go a little bit west of there, on the edge of the Everglades. You get to Sunrise, Florida, where we are at the Amerant Bank Arena for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. E.J. Raddick here alongside Corey Schneider. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, E.J. I'd rather be out there on the beach because it is positively frigid in here right now.
It's cold in here. You made
warm thoughts.
You made the rookie mistake of not having a little extra gear to throw on.
We all need Stanley Cup Final experience.
That's
true.
true.
So I'm learning.
It does help.
That's
and
right.
I'll tell you what, in Edmonton, in the building, it was much colder than this.
Oh, God. Okay.
So
Good
if
to
that's
know.
possible.
All right.
It's cold in here, but it's going to heat up as we go through the evening. What do you make of the first two games?
Incredible. I think you couldn't ask for much more to start the series. I think both teams have been playing fast. They've been playing physically. And I love that these are the two best teams in the league right now. I love Cinderella stories are great. But I think these two teams deserve to be here, and it's had a little bit of everything. You can have good offense, good goaltending, good defense, and have 5-4, 4-3 games. So I think we've been treated to two incredible games. Hopefully get a third one here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I've covered a lot of Stanley Cup Finals over the years, and boy, those first two games, if we continue to get that level of hockey, this is going to be an epic series. We're tied at 1, getting ready for Game 3 tonight. So let's get to first things first. And Brad Marchand, he got the game winner in overtime. Was able to somehow get that puck past Stuart Skinner, and 3 goals in the Cup Finals so far, and this guy just rises to the occasion in big moments.
It's incredible. I was there in 2011. I had a first row seat for the Vancouver Canucks when Brad Marchand kind of had his coming out party. He was a young player. They had some really good guys ahead of him: Krejci, Bergeron, Nathan Horton, Lucic. But Marchand was one of their best players that series. He scored some big goals for them, and that's what he's become. He's become a big game player. Team Canada, now Florida's the reason they went out and got him. Not just for his skill and his tenacity, but he comes through in big moments, and he's showing it right now.
You know, I look at that picture of Brad Marchand. I can't really still feel that comfortable with him in that Florida Panthers jersey after all the years wearing that Spoke B. But he has fit in pretty seamlessly, and he has been a real big factor helping the young guys on that third line. Now, Lundell and Luostarinen, they've Stanley Cup champions last year. They played with Tarasenko, and they had a really good line. But they're even more impactful this year in the playoffs. These guys have been lighting it up. And you look at the leading scorers for the Panthers in the postseason. Those guys are right near the top, all 3 of those guys.
They've been a huge reason for their success, and I think when you get Marchand on that line, they're not your typical third line. Lundell's a high first-round pick. He's almost like Barkov was before he became Alex Barkov. A little underrated, good defensively, but that third line, I think they've been driving them all series, all playoff, to be honest. They've been consistent, they've scored, they've checked well, and as we mentioned, when you put Brad Marchand on that line, he's not getting top pairing matchups. He's not getting checked as hard as he was maybe in Boston, so it frees him up to play a little more offensively.
And you know, he had missed some time late in the season. I think that injury time, nobody likes to miss games.
No.
But an older player like that, I think he was primed to be fresher for the postseason, and I think it's showing with, 2 breakaway goals in the game. Just special play.
Yeah, it's been incredible. Like I said, the timeliness, and as you get older and you're an older player, I think sometimes in Boston this year, it was a down year. You get away from it a little bit, and then you get revitalized. You go to the Panthers. You go to a Stanley Cup chase. You kind of get that juice back at 37. But like you said, the injury may have been a blessing in terms of his energy level and how much he had in the tank for this playoff run.
And you can see some of the point leaders, the big boys there, and Brad Marchand sitting there with 17 points, 7 goals. I want you to take us through that game-winning goal, Corey, because it's the second breakaway situation for Marchand. He scored the first time around. I want to look at it from Skinner's point of view, because a lot of the viewers out there might say, that's a tough one to give up there. And listen, it is. Any goal is a tough one to give up in the Stanley Cup Final for sure. But it was a weird play. Take us through it from the eyes of Stuart Skinner as that play was coming at him.
Yeah, I think it got set up by the previous goal by Marchand when he came in and he kind of gave him the hard head fake. and slipped at 5-hole. So as a goal, you're thinking, is he trying to go 5-hole again? So it's almost a game within the game. And as you see here, he gets behind the defense, which he's so good at. And you're coming in, he's getting harassed from behind by 2 guys. As a goalie, I think Skinner did a great job staying with him. When you go to that paddle down, there is that split second where you expose the 5-hole. You don't keep your stick upright. So I think he's trying to get into that paddle down, and Marchand got a little hook from behind and lost control of it. And sometimes you're expecting him to go further with it. Maybe he's going to go further to his backhand. So as you can see here, it just slips through your legs. You're trying to get ahead of it, and all of a sudden it does something it's not supposed to, and it just sort of drifts in because the momentum carries it forward, and he loses control and doesn't keep it on his stick. So I think he just got caught up, tied up a little bit, was not expecting him to, as you see here, just hits the inside of his pad, and all of a sudden it's in.
Yeah, because I've had to look at it several times, and I still can't be sure that Marchand ever got another stick on it.
Yeah.
And from being in net, Corey, sometimes pucks that don't get touched again can slide through you. I think Pavel Datsyuk would do that on purpose.
Yeah, the Kucherov, where he does the fake move and it just slides in on
you. And it's tricky when a guy is coming at you at speed where your teammate is back checking there, and that's what made it difficult. And boy, it's got to be frustrating when that slides past you.
There's not a worse feeling than feeling it in your pads, in your legs, and all of a sudden you think, uh-oh, that's not there anymore. I can feel it sliding through. And you try to hold your ground because you don't want to knock it in, but it's already kind of momentum's carried it into the net. So, again, he played a good game. He was really good that night.
Played terrific.
But a tough way to end it, and, again, he's got to move past that, which he's shown he's done in his career and throughout these playoffs.
Well, your former crease mate, Roberto Luongo, is part of the management group now with the Florida Panthers. He went on Twitter, Strombone1, we know who it is, and he said favorite player of all time. Right, this was right after the game, talking about Brad Marchand. So we know Roberto still has a very keen sense of humor.
Goaltender's wit, sharp as a tack, Roberto's always good at those one-liners, so I'm not surprised by that.
14 years ago, probably a lot less so.
They've had some good conversations, I'm sure, about that.
And then he is now. So, it's, here's going all the way back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I might have had to come in shortly after this, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Was this game in Boston?
This was in Boston.
Yeah,
I can't remember
because there was a couple of really tough games in Boston, if I remember, during that series.
It was a Hornets nest playing in there.
Yeah, that's where it turned, because you guys won the first 2 games, and you won games 1, 2, and 5 at home, and then obviously it went to 7, and they found a way to win. Tim Thomas,
unbelievable.
Incredible. We'll pump his tires a little bit.
Pump those tires.
Pump his tires.
It's been long enough. We can pump them.
We can let it go now, right? Yeah. He was pretty darn good in that playoff run. We got some news from the Panthers today about their lineup. A.J. Greer looks to be back in. You can see here from Luke Fox. Makes his Cup final debut tonight. Jasper Boquist will sit it out. And A.J. Greer is a big, strong winger that was part of kind of the Panthers finding their way in that second round series against Toronto. So he goes back into an already physical series. Nice to maybe add a piece like that.
I think it's big for them. Their fourth line hasn't played quite as much in the first 2 games as maybe they'd like. It's put a lot of toll on the top 9 forwards. So if they can get AJ in, provide some physicality, as you mentioned, maybe get some offense out of him, I think that would go a long way to preserving the top 9 guys and maybe not grinding them into the ice too hard in Game 3 here in a long series, what it could be.
Yeah, no question about that. And then from the other side of the coin, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, listening to the Oilers this morning, is a game-time decision. He skated this morning. He is going to skate in the pregame. Now, I'm thinking he's going to play.
Yeah.
But I've been here in these Stanley Cup final games where I think one thing is going to happen and it doesn't. So they're saying it's a game-time decision. We'll have to wait and see. But, boy, that would be a big loss if he couldn't play.
It would be huge. I mean, they're already without Zach Hyman.
Yep.
Their depth's being tested a bit. They need some more offense from their third line, which we might touch on later. But, I don't see a world where he doesn't play. If he's on the ice this morning, you do what you have to do, as a player. And, like I said, he's too important to this team. I think if he can do it, he will.
Yeah, so, the interesting thing for me with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is he has obviously impacts the team in a lot of different ways. He's one of those guys, a 200-foot player, and you can move him around. But on the power play, and their power play is such a big part of their team because, they've got McDavid, they got Draisaitl, they got Bouchard. But I always feel, and I had this conversation with Chris Knobloch the other day, I was like, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, he's really the most important player outside of McDavid on that because he has to be the smart guy there. He has to watch McDavid and not duplicate McDavid, right? He's got to get to those spaces to stay away from McDavid. And so they have room to make passes through seams and they can connect together. And the other thing that he is really important on is that when McDavid will enter the zone in speed, almost always he'll kick it to Nugent-Hopkins.
Yeah.
And he has to make a quick decision. not always easy to do.
It's hard playing with really skilled players. You have to be a very smart player. Corey Perry, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, you have to think the game like they do. Well, maybe you're not as talented as they are, but you got to be able to keep up with them mentally. So I think with Nugent-Hopkins, that bumper position is a thankless job. You don't always get a bunch of touches. You're not the key guy in the power play, but when you need to make a touch pass or you need to relieve pressure, you got to be in the right spots. And as you said, you got to keep those seams open, and then you got to get yourself available for when that opportunity does come. Patrice Bergeron comes to mind, Braden Point, some of the best bumper guys in the league in recent memory. So again, it's a thankless position, but it's an important position because everything can run through that, or like I said, you're the escape valve if they need to give it to you to relieve pressure off the big guys.
And, he's a guy, people forget, he was a first overall draft pick as well. I mean, the Oilers had a bunch from him in that era in the early part of the 2010s. And he is a really high-end guy. I mean, that's another reason. They're already missing Zach Hyman. I mean, missing Zach Hyman is bad enough. At least Corey Perry has come in and filled some of that role. But if they have both those guys out, I mean, I think it would be really difficult.
Really challenging. And like we talked about, if they load up that McDavid-Draisaitl combination at any point, at least Nugent-Hopkins gives you another guy behind them that can slide in and play center. But, yeah, he gets forgotten sometimes. He had, 100 points last year, over 100 points. He had a monster season. So he's an incredible depth piece for them. And like you said, you can't lose too many guys against this Florida Panthers team. Otherwise, they'll overwhelm you.
Yeah, we'll assume that Nugent-Hopkins, for the purpose of our chat, is going to play.
Yes, let's
right?
do
We
that.
think he is going to play, right? That's what
more fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, when I look at the Oilers scoring, it's still McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard have the lion's share of points, and they have some other guys that have chipped in. But like as things shift here to South Florida, who are some of the, is it Adam Henrique? Is it Matthias Janmark? Who is it? Who are the other guys that have to step up?
Yeah, I alluded to it earlier, and my former teammate and good friend Adam Henrique, they brought him in to be that third line center role. I think between, I'm going to say the whole line. I think the Connor Brown, Frederick, Henrique line. They had some good moments. They've provided some big goals, but they've kind of dried up here a little bit. And again, I think against Florida, when the Marchand, Lundell, Luostarinen line's putting up points, they have to try to create some offense. So, they got some experience there. They got some physicality in Frederick. So I'd love to see this third line take some of the pressure on the road where maybe the matchups are better for Florida. They can get out against the big guys, free up that third line to score some goals and create some offense.
Trent Frederick is one guy, too. Now, I know he came to the team, he was injured, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't really get going. He played one game in the regular season.
Right, that's a tough
and then
transition.
He jumped into the playoffs. But, this would be a moment for Trent Frederick to step in and play well. I mean, he was a former first-round pick. This year was kind of a tricky year for him. He had some injury issues last year of his contract. Those things can weigh on young guys. Yeah. He has not been someone that's really been in this situation before. Boy, that'd be something. It'd be big for them if he could come up with a big play around the net.
Absolutely. I mean, he's known for his physicality, his hard game, his forechecking ability, that kind of stuff. But he has some offense in him. You mentioned he's a first-round pick.
Yeah.
A bit of a surprise maybe, but over his career, he's provided offense. He's scored goals. And, again, I think if he can disrupt the Panthers' defense and get in and try to make life hard on them to create some turnovers, that's the easiest way to get offense when you're in that role. So, as you mentioned, tough transition. I believe he's got 1 goal in 18 games in the playoffs so far. So that's just maybe not what they bargained for, what they paid for when they traded for him at the deadline. So that'd be great to see him get going and provide some offense for them.
Yeah, really good kid. I got to talk to him prior to the series starting, and just an easygoing guy. But, hey, listen, we see heroes come out of all places during the Stanley Cup Finals, so we'll keep an eye on Trent tonight. The Oilers are making some changes to the back line, too. I mean, there's some talk about how that's gone so far in these first couple of games, and they are addressing it, at least in practice. You can see here, these are the projected pairs based on what we saw yesterday at practice and this morning. Nurse goes with Bouchard, Ekholm with Klingberg, Kulak with Wallman. So they shuffle all 6 guys. What do you make of a shuffle like this before a really important Game 3?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you take Ekholm back every chance you get. You want him in your lineup, but when you do introduce him in the lineup late in the Western Conference Finals, you're moving guys around. Yeah. And I think Kulak was playing some great hockey up until that point. And sometimes guys, they get used to a certain role, or they're playing a lot and they're playing really well, and you take them out of that role and they can backslide a little bit. So I don't know if Kulak, after the Ekholm edition, lost his game a little bit, because I didn't think he had a great Game 2. So maybe they're just trying to shuffle the chairs around a little bit, or find some pairings that will give them more cohesion and consistency, because I thought Florida got some good looks in Game 2.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to find their chemistry pretty quickly, or just get in their roles and understand what the situation is. So it's going to be important though here in Florida because they got to play well tonight.
This is an interesting situation because these two teams played last year.
Yeah.
So the Oilers are very familiar with coming into South Florida, playing in this building. But let me ask you about going on the road during the playoffs. I mean, the Florida Panthers have not been a great home team. They've been better on the road. From the Edmonton standpoint, making the trip down here, getting ready for this game tonight. I mean, do you like being on the road in this situation?
I think sometimes you do, especially in Edmonton where there's so much attention and pressure, and it's you've been up there. You were there for games 1 and 2. It's everything up there. So sometimes you get away from that a little bit, and you get relieved of the pressure, and you just focus on hockey. You don't have to think about anything else. And I think it's huge for Edmonton. They need to get home ice back in this series if it goes to a Game 7, obviously. So winning and getting out early tonight and getting ahead and maybe taking the crowd out of it will be important for them. And as you mentioned, noting Florida's home woes, they haven't been great at home. Exactly. They played a lot of road games. So I don't think the Florida Panthers are going to take their foot off the gas at home. That's not how they're wired. But as the road team, sometimes you play a simpler, more effective game to start, and you get up early on them, and you control and dictate the rest of the game. So I think Edmonton's going to be looking to do that. Yeah,
I think they've lost 2 out of their last 3 on home ice, the Panthers. And any idea why that would be?
It's hard to say.
I guess it's always hard to figure that out.
I know, it really is. And again, they've played 12 road games, I believe, to 7 home games. So there's been a pretty big disparity there. I don't look too much into it. They're so experienced and so good that you can't really pin something on it. But like you said, sometimes as a road team, you come in and you play a simpler game, and you try not to do too much. And like I said, you can surprise teams. So maybe they've just gotten caught off guard a few times, or just they have a little bit of a letdown or a lack of energy at home for whatever reason. But, I mean, Stanley Cup Finals, I think they'll be ready to go tonight.
All right, one more for you about the matchup.
Yeah.
You've probably been in situations in your career where you've played a team 2 years in a row in the postseason.
Yeah.
And, this is unique because it's a Stanley Cup final. But what is it like when you play a second year after you've either beat them or lost to them? I mean, because the teams are generally similar.
Yep.
What's that like?
There's a little bit more bad blood, I think, a little more animosity. You know them inside and out. You really don't like guys at this point. You respect them because they're all a heck of a hockey player, but you just kind of get annoyed at guys. You're like, I'm just tired of you. I'm tired of this. It brings a little bit more, I think, emotion out of you in that sense. It's not just, we don't know this team very well. When the East and the West play, sometimes it's a lack of familiarity, and that's why sometimes the finals aren't as exciting. But I think these two teams are well-versed in each other, and there's no surprises. Like, tactically, there's not many adjustments you can make. We know exactly what they're going to do. We know exactly what we're trying to do. Now it's about the details, the little things, and just executing at the right times and at a high level. So, like you see here, scrums, getting under guys' skin. This is where it all happens. Every hit you make, it adds up. It's equity into the series. So they're making sure that nobody goes without getting hit tonight.
And there's probably some old wounds that the scab came off pretty easy.
I would think so.
From last year.
Exactly.
But we've had a great series so far through 2 games, 2 overtime games. Oilers win game 1. The Florida Panthers rally and win game 2 in overtime. It sets us up for tonight, a very big game 3 here in Florida. When we come back, JD will be back with a parlay.
Oh, boy.
Yes, he's 1 win and 1 loss. He did have an Evander Kane goal the other night, but couldn't come through with the other things. We'll see what he's got cooking for us next, right here on First Shift. There's McDavid, gets it through. Oh, what a play! What a play by McDavid! He gets it to Draisaitl, who bangs it home. Oh, what a play by the Oilers! They score a power play goal. They lead it 3-2. Coming the other way, it's Marchand on a breakaway again. He's in. He's stopped by Skinner, and it rolls in. It rolls in. The puck somehow rolled past Skinner into the cage. And the Florida Panthers have tied the series at 1. It is time for the Top Line Parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And we've got our guy, JD, to come through for us. Let's hope he can come through for us.
Please, I need it tonight, actually.
He got the first game.
Okay.
Got a win. Last game got a little aggressive.
I like it.
I like that. I like the aggressiveness, but it did not work out. So, JD, take it away. Game 3.
All right, we're going to try and get back to our winning ways, but I picked those two calls of yours, Eej, because those were what sank the parlay in Game 2. That McDavid to Draisaitl connection, and then Brad Marchand with the dagger taking away my Oilers money line.
Yes.
But all right, let's try and make the Shifties a little money. Let's try and get Schneid's back on the beam for NHL Now with giving props here. So we'll see what you like from this board, Corey. I know you got some big ground to make up on the other show. We're starting off with Florida, first period. We like them to score in the first period, so all we need is a Panthers goal in the first. It's been a goal bonanza in this series, especially in the first period. You see 3 goals in Game 1, 5 goals combined in Game 2. So all we need is a Cats goal in the first 20 minutes, and we're cooking with gas. Let's get back to the big board. Fenn. How about Evan Bouchard? Been a shot-on-goal machine in this series. I actually teased this line up to 4 or more shots on net. Bouchard in this series, he's leading everybody in shots on net. He had 7 in Game 1, 8 in Game 2. So we like Evan Bouchard, 4 shots on goal or more here in Game 3 tonight. Back to the big board for one more. I'm going back to the anytime goal well, Eej. The Evander Kane one, you texted me after and you put the mush on me hard when you text me. So if Carter Verhaeghe scores tonight, I need you to just keep your phone in your pocket, all right? Concentrate on the game with Weeksy. But Carter Verhaeghe, this is one of the reasons why we like it here. In 7 home playoff games this year, he scored 3 goals, all right? It's not crazy, but Verhaeghe a little bit better at home with the goal-scoring touch, at least on a per-game basis. So, fellas, this parlay, plus 950, Schneids. I know you're like 10 units underwater with the NHL Now crew. Are you riding with me here?
I might have to. I like the Verhaeghe. We were talking about on the way here, so that's a good one to me. I think they're bringing me on the show just to dig myself deeper because they're like, hey, why don't you make a cameo and make your bet? I'm like, I'm minus 10. They're like, we know. So I'm hoping that your plus 950 there will get me out of that hole and get me back to close to even here.
Oh, boy. Well, hey, you're due.
It's Hail Mary time. I got to go.
It is. And, you know, JD has had some good success this year.
Yeah, it seems
so
like.
We'll see if he can come through for you as he has for the first shifters out there. Let me ask you about Carter Verhaeghe because, you know, he's a guy that, you know, he's clutch.
Yeah.
He finds ways to score goals in big games. And overtime, I was looking for him the other night. Didn't happen for him, but he's done it before. Where do you see his game right now?
I mean, that whole line, the Barkov, Reinhart, Verhaeghe line, you know, they've been all right, but I think we've expected a little bit more from them out of both ends of the ice. So it'd be nice to see them get going here at home. Barkov's such a tremendous player that if he can set Reinhart and Verhaeghe up, it would add a huge element to their game. But Verhaeghe, like you said, he's clutch. He comes up with big goals. They're going to need him if they're going to get this series, and eventually win the series. But he has been a consistent performer for them, so let's hope he comes through tonight.
You know what's interesting? When we look at those numbers, right? Like, Reinhart, we know, was hurt in the third round, and he's come back and played. But when you're at the final, you're walking around, you're talking to different people, the feeling is that Sam Reinhart is playing, but if it was a regular season, maybe he would not be.
Yep.
So he's got nothing. The other night he had an overtime breaker from center ice in and missed the net. So he might be laboring, and that might be part of it. Now, there's no excuses for anybody. This is what it is. They're all big boys. He's on the ice. He's playing. You got to find ways.
Yep.
The same thing about Barkov is that he is not that he's looking bad.
No.
But he hasn't looked quite as spry, let's say, as he was last year or in previous series. Remember how he finished off that Carolina series?
Yeah.
He had that great pass.
Unbelievable.
Where I think it was Verhaeghe who scored the big goal. So, you know, those are guys that need to get going. Verhaeghe's got a couple of assists, so he's kind of doing his thing. It'll be interesting at home tonight. Matchups are different. Florida has last change. You know, you're playing against McDavid. You're playing against Draisaitl. That changes things. I think Paul likes having his Selke Trophy winning center out there against those guys, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes tonight. But injured, not injured, tired, not tired, they have to find a way to be a little bit more productive, particularly Reinhart and Barkov.
Absolutely. Again, you said that not everyone's 100%. Matthew Tkachuk, we don't know if he's 100%.
He's about 35%, I think. I mean, he's struggling, but you know what? He's finding ways to do different things. He's getting points.
Yep.
And the other night, I would say, he had a really big impact on the game just with starting trouble seemingly everywhere he could. And in particular, and I got you right here, he was in Stuart Skinner's kitchen often in the first period. And when Skinner was down on the ice, being helped by the trainer, Matthew Tkachuk skated over, and I thought that was going to be. I thought we were looking for like a 20-minute brouhaha at that point. Like, have you been in that position? Has that ever happened where a guy skated over while you were laying there?
I mean, maybe not. I don't remember, to be honest. I haven't had anybody chirp me when I've been down on the ice. But I mean, that's what we talked about. You face this team again. Matthew Tkachuk is Matthew Tkachuk. He's going to get his licks in. He's going to get his chirps in.
Yeah.
He's going to make sure that he's there. And as a goaltender, you try to ignore it. I mean, but I think the goal of this series is to get in Stuart Skinner's crease and get into his kitchen and try to make life hard on him, because he is such a big guy that if he gets to his spots and he gets his feet set, he's hard to beat. So, it's crossing the line maybe. Bennett got called the other night finally for goal interference. There was that play in Game 1. So maybe they're keeping an eye out on it. But, I mean, this is all within the game. This is the gamesmanship that you mentioned. And for that top line, Barkov, Reinhart, sometimes you get that home cooking. You get back. You get all your toys and gadgets in the locker room that you're used to. You get your masseuses, your Kairos that you like. So sometimes coming home makes the body feel a little bit better, because you got all the stuff that you're accustomed to and all the extra, like I said, amenities. So hopefully they'll be feeling a bit better tonight, because that top line's got to get going offensively if they want to stay in this series.
No question about it. So we'll keep an eye on that tonight here in Game 3 at the Amerant Bank Arena in South Florida. Oilers and Panthers. When we come back, key guy for the Florida Panthers, Sam Bennett. His contract is up at the end of the year. What's going to happen with him? What's going to happen with a number of free agents? We'll talk that next on First Shift.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FLY when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Well, we had the NHL Draft Combine in Buffalo last couple of days, and here's a tweet from James Myrtle looking at the NHL rumor mill with free agency just 3 weeks away. And James with The Athletic, he was at the Combine, and there was a lot of discussion about many topics, and one of them was Sam Bennett, who, according to James, is most likely to stay with the Florida Panthers. I had heard something similar, too, on a very long-term deal, as you would expect. Makes sense for Sam Bennett to stay with the Panthers if that happens.
I mean, it's a tremendous fit. It makes too much sense in terms of his importance to the team, his production in the playoffs, what he wants, what he's looking for. This is going to be a fascinating offseason, EJ. I think with all the money coming in the system, there aren't enough good players to spend it on.
That's
right. I think all the teams are trying to evaluate what the market's going to look like, who's worth what. So I'm sure there's a team out there who might give Sam Bennett 2 years and $20 million, because they can't spend it on anybody else. So he's got to make that decision. But if the fit's here and he's comfortable here and he loves it here, which a lot of guys do, then I think at this stage of your career, you do what's best for you and your family and maybe leave some money on the table. But he'll have options, that's for sure, if he decides to test the market.
No question about it. I mean, I had heard the Utah Hockey Club was willing to go to $80 million on Sam Bennett, $100 million on Mitch Marner. I mean, do the math. It's a lot of money, because you can only go 7 years if you're not the Florida Panthers in this particular case. Let me ask you about Bennett in terms of his ability to maybe stay outside of the crease, oftentimes his inability to stay outside of the crease. I mean, he's banged into a couple of goalies in these playoffs. I mean, he's viewed as really one of these guys that helps you to win in the postseason. You've been the guy with all the pads there in that blue paint. What are guys like that like to deal with?
They're really good at it. It's a skill. It's an art. I've had guys like Dustin Byfuglien, Steve Ott was terrible, David Backes, just some big bodies. Chris Kreider's one of the better modern ones.
Okay.
They know just where to be. They always know where the heels are. They always know where the crease is. And they might, oops, oh, I fell. Oh, I got bumped, or I got nudged, and now I'm into you. So as a goalie, it's challenging. It's almost like a quarterback in the pocket. You have to feel the pressure and almost try to move into spots where you know that he's not going to be, or find ways to get around it and see the puck. Because if you get tied up or caught up with those guys and get focused on them, then the puck's by you. So, and maybe as a goalie, you draw a little bit of contact every now and then. You sort of give it, and then you sort of flinch, or got to play that game too. Not advocating diving by the goalies. I know people don't like that. But as a goaltender, you sometimes have to show the ref, hey, he's in my space. I'm trying to play my position. You got to get him out of here. But again, to those guys, the Bennetts of the world, those types of players, it's an art and it's a fine line that they toe, but they're very, very good at it without getting caught and getting goals disallowed and taken off the board, because coach hates nothing more than that.
Yeah, and it's funny because he did get a goalie interference penalty in Game 2. So with all these high-profile plays, you get to the Cup final, you're involved with several of them. Will all of those plays, do you think, are they catching up with them a little bit now, and it's the referees are keeping an even keener eye maybe on what goes on there?
I think so. Between the Toronto series where Stolarz missed the rest of the series because of that, which again I didn't think was necessarily Bennett's fault, but you're associated with that. Now your name's on that. In this series now he's had a few incidents, so I think the refs are aware of it. And if you sort of say, hey, I would talk to the refs. I would say, hey, the ref, hey, watch Bennett on my crease. He's in there all night. Like, I'm trying to. He's like, all right, they'll work with you. But again, they're not looking to call everything because they want to let the guys play. But as a goalie, you got to play that game too and say, hey, just keep an eye out here for me because I'm trying to avoid him. I'm trying to stay out of his way, but he's in my space. So if you point out to the refs, let them know, make them aware without try to tell them what to do. I'm sure there's a bullseye on his back somewhat.
I think, it's funny. That really is what you really hit on it is the referees don't want to call every penalty.
No, they can't.
So they can't. So you can, that's the thing. Take 6 penalties, maybe they call 2.
Right.
So that's kind of been the mantra. We'll see what happens tonight. But we know one thing. He will be there.
He will be there.
He will be there in front of Stuart Skinner. I want to get back to the, that free agency talk as we are getting closer to it. There's going to be, as you alluded to, there's a lot of money in the system this year. The cap is going up. That's great news for the players who have that opportunity this year. Mitch Marner is the guy that's probably the number 1 free agent target for a lot of teams if he just decide not to sign with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it looks like he is going to hit the market. And a lot of the talk is maybe Southern California, that the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings are both interested. I mean, I think both good spots for different reasons. The Ducks are still a rebuilding team, but like on the cusp of moving forward. I mean, this year they improved by 21 points. What a jump.
Yeah.
For that team. And now they bring in Joel Quenneville. So the thinking, I would imagine, is that, we're hoping to take another step this year. And on the other side, the LA Kings, they have good centermen. You know, when you think of Kopitar, you think of Deneau, you think of Byfield. Could be a real good place for someone like Mitch Marner to go and be a great complementary piece and maybe help them get over the hump. Do you like one of those fits more than the other?
It's tough because I like the LA fit now because I think they're closer to contending. So if you're Mitch Marner, you say, hey, I'd like to, right, I'd like a shot at the Cup in the next few years. That might be the spot. And to your point, they have some good two-way guys. And Marner's no slouch defensively. He's underrated defensively, but he adds an element of creativity that I don't think the LA Kings have. They have a lot of good straight line, two-way, heavy, hard-nosed players. To have a guy like that come in, just add that skill and creativity element, I think would really unlock something for their offense. But you mentioned Anaheim, too. We had this discussion before the show. These teams that are knocking on the door that have been rebuilding for years, you got to get in at some point. You got to make the playoffs. You got to give your young guys a taste of a playoff chase at least to let them know what it's like to play in those big pressure games. And I think, as you said, Quenneville's a win-now move. So would be Mitch Marner. But, like I said, trying to figure out the market. Are we willing to make Mitch Marner the highest-paid player in the league? More than the $14 million Leon Draisaitl makes. That might be what it takes. We all, I think, have to readjust our sights on what guys are worth with the cap going up 30% in the next 3 seasons. So I think it's going to be an interesting dance between these high-end players, the teams, what's the dollar number, what's the percentage of the cap, and I think we're entering a whole new world where people really have to have sticker shock on some of these contracts, but that's where it's going because more money's coming in the system.
You know what's interesting, too, is you look at the other sports. Now, I know it's hard because the other sports, the different revenue game we're playing there, but players in other sports are making way more than guys make in hockey. So, maybe some people will have sticker shock, but I guess this is something that's coming. We're coming out of the pandemic. There's record revenues now. The cap is going to go up, so these are going to be the deals that get signed. Also in James Myrtle's reporting, he had something really interesting there, that there was the potential for a 3-way deal, and here's a note on it. Toronto, Carolina, and Vegas almost had a 3-way deal in place that would have sent Marner to Vegas, Rantanen to Toronto. The deal reportedly fell through because Carolina and Vegas failed to find the right assets to complete it. And, I would say in Vegas's case, they don't have those really high-end young players that they can afford to move. And the Dallas Stars, the deal that eventually happened where Dallas was able to get Rantanen was they had Stankoven, and they had good young players in the system. I think Vegas, that's probably where it fell apart. I don't think Toronto necessarily has guys like that. I mean, teams would probably want Matthew Nyes, and I don't think that's someone that Toronto really wants to trade. So really fascinating. Because I know the Vegas Golden Knights, let's face it, we talk about LA and Anaheim. Vegas is probably going to be a player for Marner, too.
They always are. They seem to be on everybody and everything. They think of every opportunity and every option. So Vegas is somebody you keep an eye on. Again, if you're Mitch Marner and you're in the pressure cooker of Toronto, maybe you want to go out west and become a little more anonymous and not have to deal with the scrutiny he's faced. So that would make sense. But to your point, Ej, I think Carolina was looking for a guy that could help them this year. Yeah. And I don't know who that guy is on the Vegas roster, so I'm sure that's where it got caught up. But you see deals being reported like this, and you mentioned other sports. in the NBA, star guys get moved all the time. In Major League Baseball, Juan Soto's and the Bryce Harpers and the Shoheis, they're leaving as free agents. So I think hockey, you're starting to see that a little bit, where teams recognize we have a window to contend here. We're going to go all in, and we're going to give up futures, and we're going to make big moves because we don't know if guys are going to stick around like they used to. It used to be everyone's going to re-sign, and we'll keep the band together. But now I think teams are becoming more and more aggressive to maximize their window of contention, because once it closes, as we've seen from a lot of these teams right now, it takes a long time to get back to the top and back into contention.
When you think back on that second-round series, Toronto and Florida went 7 games, and Marner had his ups and downs in that series. If you put Rand into the mix in that series, could he have been a difference?
It's hard to say, right? You can play the what-if game, but, I mean, you saw what he did in that series against Colorado, and he single-handedly took a series over by himself, but then he kind of went dry there against Edmonton and didn't produce a lot. So, I think anytime you switch franchises and organizations, it takes a minute. So we don't know what it would have been like, but he might have added a different element and a different energy and a different look to that team that, maybe play more of that physical style and grinding game against Florida that would have been more suited to them. So it would have been an interesting, case study to see how it worked out.
Boy, that would have been a blockbuster.
That sure would have. I would have loved it.
We would have been talking about that trade for weeks and years to come, for sure. But, wow, interesting note there from James Mirtle. We'll see how all this plays out. Of course, free agency coming up on July 1st. We'll have coverage for you right here on the NHL Network. When we come back, we'll do a little edge work with Corey Schneider, who has the edge in some of the key matchups in this series. We're going to ask about the goalies.
Obviously.
That obviously is right. That's next on First Shift. Obviously.
Sam went out. What do you need?
You got me water.
I just do normal.
I don't want water from you. I'd rather from Sam. I need.
Come on, boys.
Thanks, I will.
Sammy, Connor.
Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final on the line at Rogers Place.
Their start, they're going to come out hard and try and take over this series right away. All right, so this first 10 minutes is very important, that we want to make sure we're playing fast, we're putting pucks behind their D, and we're finishing them as much as we can, all right? So let's make sure we have a good start, everyone pulling, everyone pushing the right way, all right?
Let's have a start here. We got Kaner, Leo, Happy, Doc, Cooley, Skinson. You are ready, dog. You are ready. Step, one strap, yeah.
Let's go, bud. Come on, Kaner. Andy, let's go.
Come on.
Big start, you 3.
Game 2 in Edmonton is underway.
Hunt back, hunt him, hunt him. Hold him, hold it.
Good job by Leo, good job by that stretch.
That's it, boys. Stay on him here, boys.
Here's Verhaeghe. Verhaeghe's shot did not get through. Nate Schmidt, stop!
Yeah. All right. Foot on the gas, boys.
Sam Bennett, with 2 goals in game 1, opens the score for Florida.
Good job, Benny. That's it, Benny.
Good job, Benzo.
That's it. That's it, Benny. That's it, Marshy. Beast. Hard.
May have saved it off Van Rush against Florida, but here's one. Caved in. And this game is tied at 1 with 12:21 to go in the first.
Good job, Kaner. Good job.
Come on, White.
Got to battle, man, battle every puck. With the Oilers leading 2-1. Schmidt for Losterinen. Plus ice Jones. Score!
Play. What? Play. Great play. That's it, Jonesy. That's it, boys. That's it, boys. Great shot, Jonesy. Hard.
Let's roll these offensive zone shifts. Roll these shifts.
Across it goes for McDavid. Another great cut. Look at that.
Leon Draisaitl.
A remarkable deke by McDavid. The table set, and Draisaitl finishes.
What a play. What a play. Keep building, man. One shift at a time.
Not even 13 minutes in, it's 3-2. How do you like it so far?
Let's get back down there. Let's spend some time down there, man. Go, go, go. Take it. Hard plays all the way down. All the way down. Come on. Oh. Come on, Mark.
Here comes Marchand on the breakaway.
Yeah. What a big.
Florida has the lead.
Yeah. That's it, Mark. Great play, Lundy. Relax, baby. Relax with the hands. Relax with the hands. Battle it out together here, boys, eh? Up.
Hold on, Freddie. Hold on, Freddie.
It's a Florida icing with 30 5/10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Goalie full. Yeah, let's go. Goalie, goalie.
Skinner between the circles.
McDavid along the boards. Back to Jake Walman shooting. Got through. This one.
Corey Perry tied the game with under 20 seconds remaining in regulation.
And how about overtime for a second straight game?
All the job, guys, digging in. All the job. Win your shift, make those plays. Series of small little plays will add up. We'll put one more in the back of the net, all right? Let's go get her, guys.
Job done, baby. Let's go get it.
Get it, it's yours. Come on, boys, come on. Let's go.
Let's go, let's go!
Tanner, take the draw. Let's go, Freddie.
The Oilers refuse to go quietly into the night. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final will require extra time.
We just got to play our game here, boys.
Let's go, boys, eh? Right on the hop. Hague takes it away. Out in front, Marchand. What a chance! Look up behind Skinner.
Oh my goodness, what a save.
Great play.
Got to fight harder in there, man. Fight harder in there.
There we go, period number 5.
Keep pushing, man.
Draisaitl. Back down for a shot by Ekholm, missed the net.
No.
Ahead for Marchand. Moving in on Skinner. Marchand is. It's in. He scores.
Yeah.
No way.
Marchand has won it for the Panthers.
Go! Yeah, baby. Come on. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Wow, this series, it's so tight. That was a great piece. I mean, in the locker room there for the overtime. You can take a look at the series summary board here. I mean, the goals are even. Oilers with more shots. Both teams have a pair of power play goals. Panthers have more hits. Both teams are blocking shots. This has been a great series so far through 2, and I just think we're just getting started.
Yeah,
still,
we are.
Right? I mean,
I hope so.
This is probably going all the way through. Let's get a little game of edge work here before we let you go, and let's start with the matchup between the Barkov and McDavid. I mean, the two captains, and I guess any matchup with Connor McDavid, you're probably on the losing end. But McDavid has been great. Barkov is not doing much offensively right now. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is the matchup of the series. It's like you said, you can only hope to contain Connor McDavid. You mitigate the damage, but Barkov, Selke winner, that's his job. And we mentioned Reinhart may not be 100%. Barkov, we don't know how he's feeling. So sometimes you focus all your energy into defense. Hey, let's defend. Let's shut down Connor. We might not be able to contribute as much offensively, but at least we can mitigate what Connor does and let our depth hopefully take over offensively. So, at home, I'm going to give Barkov the advantage, that line against Connor, and especially tonight. So it's going to be his primary objective to slow Connor McDavid down and let the rest of his teammates kind of take over the rest, the other part of it.
It's so interesting what happens because, like, a lot of times when they're out there, they like to make that long rim coming out of the zone and, like, catch McDavid underneath, with speed. Yeah, what do you do there? I guess you have to try to match him or stay close to him, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a defenseman, you've got to try to get your gap and have some momentum coming backward because he's coming at you a million miles an hour. And if they can chip that puck to the middle, he's shot out of a cannon. So you have to try to time it. You have to have that forward, try to keep up with him, maybe create a little bit of a cushion that allows you to, skate backward or skate with him. If you skate backward against him, he's going to go around you. So you almost have to time him up and skate forward with him and just deny him the puck. Try to deny that. Make sure that guy on the wall doesn't chip that puck to the middle. So maybe tie him up a little bit better because a lot of teams, especially them, run that play with Connor where they want to get him coming through the ice at 100 miles an hour. And your D, like I said, don't have a lot of chance against that with their gap.
It's not a good place to be for anybody when that train is coming down the tracks, for sure. Let's look at the matchup. Who has the edge between the Oilers the power play, and the Florida Panthers penalty kill? Because they got a shorthanded goal last game, the Panthers.
They did. This is an interesting one. There's been a lot of penalties called, I think, for a finals. You saw 10 power plays for the Oilers, 6 for the Panthers. So the refs haven't been afraid to call it, especially early. So I'm interested tonight to see what the first period's like, what they're calling, what they're not. They tend to try to set the tone early, the officials, because as we said, they can't call them all. But hey, we're going to look for these few things, so be on your best behavior. But they tend to put the whistles away as you get going. So I'm going to give the advantage, I think, to the Edmonton power play tonight. I think, they've had enough opportunities. They've had enough touches. Like I said, Bouchard shooting the puck from the back end. If they get a few power plays early in the game, they can get one quick. Like I said, for those guys, sometimes it helps propel you through the rest of the game. So I'm sure they're going to be dialed in on their special teams to begin with.
And we'll have to keep an eye on Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Again, he's a game-time decision. Point. We do think he is going to play, but we're not 100% sure. And if he can't play, his role on that power play is significant. So we will keep an eye on that. But last one. The goalies. You got Skinner and Bobrovsky, the head-to-head matchup. Who do you give the edge to so far in the series and looking ahead to tonight?
Well, Stu Skinner's 2 losses. Most recently, he's come back and pitched a shutout on the road in the next 2 games afterward. And we're getting into Stu Skinner territory, games 4 through 7, where the stats are he's been lights out in those games. So tonight is a pivotal game for him. First game on the road. You got playoff Bob down the other end. I think Skinner's going to be the story tonight. If he can withstand the Florida onslaught early and keep them in the game, and the Oilers can somehow find a way to win, that's going to be the turning point of the series. So I'm going to give the advantage to Bob tonight, but Skinner's the linchpin of this game tonight, I think, for both goalies.
Yeah, and we were talking, you just get him moving.
Yep.
Make it
get
harder.
Get him off that base, Move his feet. Don't let him get set and squared up to the shot.
Yeah, so listen, I'm looking forward to it. Back-to-back overtime games in Edmonton. The scene shifts now to Florida. Should be another great game tonight from sunny South Florida. EJ Raddick, Corey Schneider, thanks for the time. NHL Now coming up next. Stay with us. We get ready for Game 3, Oilers and Panthers.